Hello, so lovely to see you today. My name's Sarah and I'm going to be facilitating a dedicated Birak season yoga class today. So I'd like to acknowledge country first, to acknowledge the Noongar people, which are the indigenous people of this land which I stand on today, of past, present and emerging. And I won't go into too much detail, but Noongar people have 6 seasons. And because we're in the start of December, it is the start of Birak season, and which is early summer. Yes, we're in the southern hemisphere. And so Birak season goes from December to January. So its season's usually 2 months. And I'll put more details down below for you, but I'm actually in Wajak Booyah country, which is Wajak means the metropolitan part of Perth, and Booyah means country. So, but I really wanted to share with you is what Birak means. It's also acknowledges the young growing up. And I also wanted to show little Greg here. He's our pet, and it's about also Birak means about pets and animals coming out of hibernation, or and I know that the bobtails don't really hibernate, but it's about them shedding skin and or the young getting growing up as well. So it's the emergence of young. So here's little Greg. Oh, hello. I know, it's not very nice. So Greg's a bobtail. I'll just hold his back there. And hello, he is shedding his skin. So it is the time for him. So I'm going to dedicate this yoga session for him, and our peak pose today will be lizard posture, hence Birak season. And I hope you enjoy it. Just one moment. As I just had to put Greg back. So I'll meet you on the mat. What you need, you might need a block and a blanket if you want to support your knees. But otherwise, let's join and start on the mat right now. So just to begin, just allowing yourself to come into a seated position, and you can place your hands wherever they feel comfortable, and you can lower your gaze if you like, or fully close your eyes, just to feel the connection of the earth beneath you. Just noticing your breathing, how your chest rises and falls. Just try and keep your breath as natural as possible. And just checking in with how you're feeling at the moment. And just knowing that you can adjust your practice to however your body needs or your mind needs today. And just to build up to our lizard posture, it is a hip opener. So we'll be just gently opening the hips to progress to this posture today. And if you'd just like to take position on your back, and just bringing both of your knees towards your chest. Breathing, probably you might notice your belly pushing up against your legs. And if you just take your hands to your knees and guiding your knees and making circular motion, it doesn't matter which direction you're going, and just really feel the massaging of your back against the mat. And then going the opposite direction. And just extending your left leg out along the mat. And just giving your right knee a gentle squeeze towards your chest. And just see if you can just gently bring your knee slightly outwards. So it's like you would be maybe guiding it towards your right armpit. So you're just gently opening up this area already. You might even like to put your hands behind your thigh. Just see what the difference is. You might find that a little bit easier than placing your hands around your shin. Just holding here for a few breaths. And then just placing your hands beside you, extending your right leg, and then making circular movements with your leg. So on your exhale, you're extending your leg long, and then on the inhale, you're bending your knee up towards your chest, exhaling, long, inhale, all the way up towards your chest. And just use this motion matching with your breath. You can do this with your eyes open or closed. You can really probably feel that your core is being activated, your mula bandha. And then as your leg is extended, just allowing it to rest on your mat and just noticing how that feels with your muscles now softened. And then swapping to your other side. So your left knee comes up towards your chest, giving a big squeeze. Breathing deeply. And then just gently guiding your knee with your left hand, just as though you'd be working it towards your armpit. Just gently opening your hip area. And if it feels any different or a little bit easier, you can take your hands and interlace your fingers behind your thigh. If that feels a bit more restful. And then releasing your hands, placing them on the mat as you exhale, extending your left leg long. And then inhale, opening your knee wide, bending your knee towards your chest as you're creating this circular motion as you're extending your leg on the exhale. Inhale. You can really rotate the hip joint from here. Just going to your own capacity. If you feel any pinches or sharp pain, please adjust this movement. You might even feel that just going up towards your chest and extending your leg long is enough for you. And then extending your leg, taking its rest on your mat. And just noticing already those slight movements, how it changes the sensation in your body, or it might not. Just observing. And then you can gently roll to your side as you come up into a neutral position. So on your hands and knees, just making sure that your wrists are underneath your shoulders, your fingers spread wide apart, hips with your knees underneath, with your knees hip width apart as well. And just gently creating some puppy dog tails, so looking over each shoulder, drawing each hip towards your upper body, even creating some pelvic movements, some circles, and even maybe bringing your elbows, bending your elbows, dipping your chest. And then from here, just extending your left leg to the outside. So it's probably maybe hip in line with your hip. And just playing around with your hips here. So you can probably gently rock back and forth, noticing how that feels. And then shifting your weight to your right hand as you extend your left hand up towards the ceiling, really opening your chest. Exhale your hand back down to the floor. You can come onto your forearms as well if you like, really noticing how that might change in your body as well, especially in your groin area. And then coming back up on your hands and then bringing your knee back into your neutral position and then swapping sides. So extending your opposite leg out, shifting, rocking your hips back and forth, noticing if that might feel any different from the other side. And if this does feel uncomfortable on your wrists, you can always just go straight down to your forearms if you like. And if you're not on your forearms, you can come down onto them now if you like. And then shifting your weight onto your left forearm as you extend your right arm up towards the ceiling. Holding for a few more breaths. And then exhale, releasing your forearm back down to the floor, coming back up onto your hands, shifting your knee back into a neutral position. And then tucking your toes under, and then on the exhale, coming into your first downward facing dog. Really taking this opportunity to feel behind your legs, giving a bend to your knees, taking your heels off the floor if you feel that feels comfortable. And really using your hands with your fingers wide to push into the mat as you lift your hips up behind you. And then giving a big bend to your knees as you walk your feet up towards your hands, placing your hands on your shins or with your fingertips on your mat as you inhale, extending your arms, lifting your chest, looking forward for a half forward lift. Exhale, full forward fold. So just letting your upper body fold over your legs, perhaps swinging your hips from side to side. You can always just keep a nice bend in your knees as well. And then rolling your spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, all the way up to standing And then once you've got to standing, just perhaps taking some neck rolls, maybe moving your hips, taking your hands onto your hips, feeling from side to side, or even just widening your feet a little bit and then taking in your pelvic hip circles, letting your knees be fluid and bendy, and then going in the opposite direction. And then coming back into your mountain position, Tadasana, your palms facing forward. Taking a moment here to notice the earth beneath you. And regardless of what season you're entering into now, just acknowledging the season that you're in, appreciating what that it needs to do, how it's all just part of the cycle of nature. And then when you're ready, just taking your hands to your hips and just using your front of your hands to guide all the way down the front of your legs, bending your knees, taking your palms and hands to the mat once again, and stepping your left foot back towards the back of the mat, and allowing your knee to fall to the back of the mat, releasing your toes, and just staying here for a moment. You might even, if it feels okay for your knee, just to gently just acknowledge a little bit of movement. And then using your hands to walk towards the back of the mat so your hips are moving towards your heel. Start to lift up naturally your front foot, just stopping wherever you feel is right for you. And just allowing your torso just to gently come down towards your leg. Holding here for a few breaths. And then walking your hands back up to your foot once again. And then tucking your toes under, lifting your back knee off the mat, and then stepping back into your downward facing dog once again, using this moment of breath to feel behind your legs. And then taking a bend in your knees as you walk your feet up towards your hands. Taking your hands on your shins as you inhale, half lift. Exhale, full forward fold. Taking a bend in your knees, placing your hands on your mat as you step your right foot towards the back of the mat, releasing your knee down to the mat, releasing your toes. And just staying here for a moment. You can always take a blanket and place it under your back knee. And then using your hands, walking down the back of the mat, extending your leg and feeling the stretch, lifting your toes off the mat, and just see if you can sink your torso a little bit closer towards your leg, holding here for a few breaths. And then walking your hands back up to your foot, tucking your toes under, lifting your back knee off the mat. And this time stepping your hands on the inside of your left foot, turning your back foot on its side. So your toes are pointing on an angle. So your foot's on a 90-degree angle. And just using your hands to move back into the middle. So your toes are now facing in the same direction. You might want to just adjust your feet. Here you can always have a really big bend in your knees if you like. And just moving from side to side, bending the knees, opening up the groin. Or if this isn't accessible to you, you can always bend your knees, come up to standing, and then taking a bend in your knees and just gently moving from side to side. And your feet would be slightly opened on an angle as well, pointing a little bit more outward if you're standing up. And then coming back to a stationary position, if you're standing, bending your knees, placing your hands back onto your mat, using your hands to walk all the way back up to the top of the mat, framing your front foot. Exhale, coming into your downward facing dog. And then releasing your knees onto the mat, releasing your toes. And then coming into a child's position. So your knees are wide, your big toes touching, your bottom to heels, extending your arms along your mat, letting your chest drop towards the earth. And then on the inhale, lifting your hips off your heels. And this time stepping your right foot on the outside of your right hand. And just this starting to come into our lizard. So traditionally the lizard position is with your toes tucked under and your knee elevated off the mat. And sometimes you'll see people, there's variations with just on your hands, staying like this for a few moments, or even coming onto your forearms as well. But today, I'll show you just a variation of protecting your knee with your underneath your back knee, and then using 2 blocks, you can release your back toe. And just even if you like, you can always let your hips sink a little bit further. Just moving my blocks around so it feels comfortable. Making sure that my ankle is underneath my knee. I have my chest lifted up, looking forward. Or you can even, if you wanted to soften your chin, looking down. And just also doing just a lovely little body scan just to see if I'm unnecessarily holding or tightening any muscles. So I can really feel my hips opening with this position. Just staying here for a few breaths. In a yin class, we would probably hold this for maybe 4 to 5 minutes. But with yang, we're not only just holding here for a lot less longer. And then when you're ready, taking your hands off your blocks, if you've got them on a block, gently just bringing your hips back, stepping your knee back, keeping your blanket where it is, and then just letting your hips to heels, bring your head on the mat, maybe even bringing your hands beside your feet. And then on your next inhale, bring your hands forward, once again coming into your neutral position, and this time stepping your left foot on the outside of your left hand. And I always just like to take a few moments just to arrive in this position. Already there's that intensity feeling of perhaps your hips. You could feel it in your groin. You can always take whatever position you like, but I'm showing you with blocks today. You could even use cans of food, baked beans or something. And once you've got your desired position, just allowing your rest of your body just to let it go, let it sink. Really focusing on your breath. Just a few more breaths. And then ever so gently just start to bring your hips slightly back so you can take your blocks away if you're using them. And then stepping your foot back, coming into the squat, into almost like a child's pose, Virasana. Just noticing the difference. And then when you're ready, you can keep your blanket if you want. Roll it up. Use this under your knees. Coming onto your back. Coming into Shavasana. And just allowing your whole body to be heavy. Softening, letting go of all your limbs. And then starting to create some movement in your toes and fingers by giving them a little bit of a wiggle. Rolling to your preferred side for a moment. And then using your top hand to push yourself up, coming into a seated position. Well, thank you so much for attending once again. And if you wanted to know more about the Noongar seasons, check out below. Hit subscribe to get updates when I post and upload the next yoga or meditation video for you. Bye for now.